I want to play you a moment from CNN that is pretty wild, where CNN host Boris Sanchez, who I do want to apologize multiple times in a past segment about him. I referred to him as Boris Johnson. Very wrong. Boris Sanchez clashes with a Republican who is in favor of the news that I'm about to break down for you, and she does not handle the call out very well at all, and it gets sort of personally she starts making points about how much money Boris Sanchez makes. Very strange. Before getting to that, though, here is the news that will be the subject of this conversation.
This evening, Louisiana is the first state to require the 10 Commandments now be displayed in every public classroom from kindergarten to state-funded universities. 30 years ago, the Supreme Court struck down a similar law in Kentucky, citing separation of church and state. Louisiana's law could face a similar challenge now, but it would come before today's more conservative high court.
Right. And we'll also get to a Fox News liberal making some good points about this as well, and her co-host not liking it. So lots to go through in the segment. Just a little bit more context before this CNN clip. Several civil liberties, also from ABC Group, say they are poised for a legal battle over Louisiana's new law requiring all public school classrooms to display the 10 Commandments one day after the law was signed by Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry. It lists some groups there. The groups say the law violates the separation of church and state in public buildings and would impact students' education and safety, according to an ACLU statement. Quote, the government should not be taking sides in this theological debate, and it certainly should not be coercing students to submit day in and day out to unavoidable promotions of religious doctrine, the ACLU wrote. So I do want to say before playing this too, just sort of my general thoughts about this subject. Sometimes I think Republicans can get away with framing this debate as a pro-religion or anti-religion one, or a pro-Christianity, more specifically, or anti-Christianity debate. And that is not something they should be able to get away with, because the reason why individuals like myself and the founders advocated so strongly on behalf of the principle that's in the Constitution of separation of church and state, specifically the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, is because that is how we protect everyone's right to practice any religion or no religion at all. Even within Christianity, someone's right to practice the type, the version, the sect of Christianity that they choose to. The way we protect everyone's right, a right that was a motivator for many of the people even coming to America way back when, that freedom of religion that is so crucial in our founding, the way we do that is having that really strong wall of separation, not allowing for the government to promote one religion over another, or force, in this case, governmental buildings to put up religious texts in every single classroom, but only of one religion, which definitely does send a message. So again, it's not, and it shouldn't be allowed to be framed as anti-Christian to want to protect the constitutional principle of separation of church and state, and not allowing for, like this, laws to become an impediment to that. Here is Boris Sanchez calling out Republican State Representative Lauren Ventrella, who helped to write this law, and she quickly implodes.
Do you also recognize that the Constitution of this country, its founding document, doesn't include the word God or Jesus or Christianity? And that's for a reason, because the founding fathers founded this country as a secular one. You don't
Boris,
see that?
I bet you CNN pays you a lot of money, and I bet you got a bunch of dollar bills.
What does this have to do with the network that I work for, or what I'm getting paid? Don't make this about that. Answer the question. Why did the founding fathers not include God in the Constitution if they wanted this country to be the way that you see it?
I'm going to quickly pause your viewing of this video to ask that you subscribe to the channel if you're not already, just by clicking that subscribe button. Thank you so much. In an argument, if you immediately rely on going after the person that's asking you a question, this is not even an argument. He's interviewing her, and she flips it around and goes, "You make a lot of money, I'm sure." Here's more.
Let me finish my statement. And
Answer
your wallet,
the question, and don't make this about me.
In God we trust. Well, make it about me. I got a dollar bill in my wallet. In God we trust is written on that dollar. It is not forcing anybody to believe one viewpoint. It's merely posting a historical reference on the wall for students to read and interpret it if they choose.
But see, it's not though, because you're not just saying it's perfectly fine for schools as a historical matter to teach about the Ten Commandments. It's saying we're going to force schools to only put up religious texts of one religion. And that is a step in the direction of the government promoting, uplifting, giving more legitimacy to one religion over another, which is, as has been shown in so many legal cases that have upheld this concept, a deterioration of separation of church and state, of that key principle that protects people's freedom of religion. And again, that's in favor of everyone. That's one of the beautiful things that makes America, America. And it's really upsetting to see people attempting to chip away at that. Then we get to Fox News and a liberal commentator making a really good point. It's interesting that given the issues Louisiana is facing, this would be the priority.
As the product of public school myself, I'm more about the solutions to the problems. And I think it's great that private donors care so much about children in Louisiana. But if they did, Louisiana is 49th in education. We have 50 states. They are one from being the bottom in education. 1. 2, one of the highest teen pregnancy rates. 3, school lunch programs. Are we feeding the children? So as a former Christian, one of the things that I would like to see, the Jesus that I know in the Bible, and I'm not a spokesperson, but I think he would care more if we really cared about the children. And I looked at the Ten Commandments again this morning, and I have already violated one of them, coveting these ladies' shoes. So,
not exactly the same covet, but I appreciate it.
You don't have a wife.
Can I just make one 10-second point?
So that's my problem with it. As a parent, is I would like to see them focus more on the children. On
this is. And I think that's what
this is not. This is their
education.
I couldn't
disagree with you more. Just one 10-second.
And by itself, as I like to say, I never want to make you all feel like I'm distracting from the core of a point with an extra point on top of something. So the core of the debate has to be about what I mentioned, right? The constitutional principle of separation of church and state, so that we can uphold freedom of religion, so that we can uphold people's right to practice the religion they choose, the type of religion, the version, the specific sect, or no religion at all. And that's, again, so beautiful. So that's the core of the argument. But it's an interesting additional point to say, it's kind of weird this is what you're focusing on when you got some major problems with your education system, Louisiana. And maybe putting a little bit of your time and energy on some of these other things she was listing could do your students well, and could be fulfilling some of the priorities that many Christians want to fulfill in uplifting people who need it and creating a better future for our children. And so I like that she said that. Her co-host did not like that she said that.
This is worth having this discussion, Leslie, because if what you're saying is by being 49th in some of those areas of educational performance for the students in Louisiana, if what you're saying is that they haven't tried many other things, that pretty much they've tried everything else and nothing has turned. So faith comes in, and it comes in last in this instance. But as Ben has pointed out, and as Emily did too, I mean, we've tried this in other school districts. We know we're in trouble. We know that we're going to need something more than X's and O's. And we know it more intimately now as parents than we knew it before the pandemic, because we see the teaching and what's coming out of some of these classrooms. So if you really want to move the needle academically, you may want to try every single option.
And the governor ran on that.
This is on. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he ran on it.
And I'm certainly not running for anything.
And I'll say this. He
I'm
ran
just
on
a
this.
parent.
And as a former, he's an AG, and he ran for governor. He made it very clear, I'm going to do things radically different in the state to get us from.
So quickly, with all the love in the world, respect, kindness, pouring out of me as I say this, to the Ten Commandments, I don't think that forcing schools to post those in classroom is going to change the ranking of 49th or 48th that Louisiana's education-wise. I don't think that's the way we do it.
From being at the bottom. And this is one part of it.
Yeah.
And I've
But
never
if you
heard of a
want your
kid having a
kids to
horrible
have
life because of the
religion,
Ten
then
Commandments.
You send them to a school affiliated with your church
But they
or your
spend most
synagogue
of
or
their
your
time
mosque.
But it
in
is
that
part of
public
history.
school. Maybe those people don't have
It's
the money
history.
to do
I'm
what
going to
they're
bet you
doing.
$50
And if
here
you're
on national
preaching
TV
school
that
choice
they're not
right
going to
here,
go up from 49th in this particular school district. in the
I
state
root
of
for people to
Louisiana
succeed,
with,
not to fail.
With the Ten Commandments being posted.
I root for people to
But
succeed.
we already know you walk
Okay. Oh, wait, this part. Let me
away
say.
from Christianity. So
no, I'm spoiling it. Let me save the very end where Harris Faulkner makes such a bizarre point. But, yeah, this is. If our legal doctrine were consistent, which is not, but if it were, this would get slapped down as it did previously in a similar situation. And it used to be that even very conservative judges and justices would easily say, no, this isn't in line with our Constitution. But we have a pretty wacky Supreme Court, as you may have heard. So that may not be the case this time around. But here's the ending part that just, it tickles me.
Posted.
I root for people to
But
succeed.
we already know you walked away from Christianity, so you
Yes,
don't
I-
have that faith.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Well, I have a relationship with God. I just am not a Christian.
But we're talking about Christianity. Right. And you made it clear on your own.
Yep.
Okay. President Biden is heading to Camp David.
What's that point? Well, you're not a Christian, so shut up. Huh? But isn't this about an American principle, a constitutional value? And that was my point. The second people are making about pro-Christian, anti-Christian, they're being dishonest, or they're just being illogical. Because just like someone practicing any other religion or no religion at all, practicing Christianity is one of the things we're trying to protect with this. With advocating on behalf of separation of church and state. I'm trying to help you, Harris, okay? Goodness gracious. Let me know what you thought of that story, the responses to the stories, the you make a lot of money comment, the Fox News back and forth in the comments. And if you want to get access to the daily bonus show, you can do so by clicking that join button below.